Hi, I'm Abby Kearns. I am a part of the product management team on Pivotal Cloud Foundry at Pivotal. And I'm going to be not as entertaining as Colin was, so I'm just going to start with that. So thank you for those that stayed to the last. But yes, I will not be as entertaining. We're going to talk a little bit about buzzwords today and what's that mean. And I will try not to walk too much, but I can't make any promises. Part of my job within the product management team is working with our customers. And actually, that's my whole job now. And I work with a lot of our customers, and what they're all trying to solve for is how do I ship faster? So shipping with velocity. And that's their objective, and they're trying to figure out how to solve that on a continual basis. There's a problem. Buzzwords. What do I mean by buzzwords? And we've heard a lot of them today. Cloud computing, PaaS, XaaS, IaaS, hell, anything as a service. DevOps, two pizza teams, Agile, business capability teams, release engineering, automation, CI/CD, BOSH, microservices, 12-factor, cloud-native applications, containers, LXC, Docker, Warden, Rocket, Garden, Runc, Runv, images, and droplets. You keep using that word. I don't think you know what it means. For most of us that are here, we live in a very insular world. I live in San Francisco, which is even more insular. And we forget that there are people that aren't in our community that don't really fundamentally know what these words mean or haven't seen them put into practice. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some of these phrases, what they mean, some common misconceptions about some of these phrases, and then how Cloud Foundry comes into the picture. Because all roads lead back to Cloud Foundry. Right, Spring and Age? I feel like I should have Lego slides in here now. Excellent, I will. So we'll start with cloud computing. The key principles about cloud computing, or the magic that was sold to us in 2007, and that we're just now realizing, is elasticity, scaling on demand, scaling your applications quickly and efficiently, on demand, only using resources when you need them, and finally, self-service. As a developer, being able to self-provision things without having to file change tickets, wait for a workflow, ask people's permission. What are the misconceptions around this? The misconceptions are, this is what it looks like. There's an IaaS, there's a PaaS, and there's a XaaS. Clean boundaries, very simple. There's no confusion here, right? Nobody's confused about these terms. Wrong. That's not what it looks like in the real world. In the real world, infrastructure can be bare metal. You can run your IaaS or your platform on bare metal or on an IaaS. Your SaaS isn't necessarily SaaS. It could be anything you want it to be. It could be an IoT app, a web app. Any application you want to run can run on your platform, your IaaS, or on the bare metal. You have a lot of potential and a lot of opportunity. This is what it really looks like. Clean boundaries, another misconception. Everything looks like this. Everything fits nicely into these little boxes. There's never any confusion. There's never any confusion when you're implementing how these things work together. Everybody's like, I'm very clear where mine is, right? Wrong. There's blurred lines throughout the stack. Sometimes your IaaS blends into bare metal. Sometimes your IaaS ++ looks like a platform. My platform might look like an application. It all starts kind of blending together. Cloud Foundry comes into the picture. And we'd like to think of the way that we work within that stack as giving you contracts and very, very strong opinions. So starting with the CPI, for those of you that are new to Cloud Foundry, it's a cloud provider interface. It's a great API connector that connects to either bare metal or an IaaS of your choice, giving you portability and on-demand resourcing. One of the most things that I talk a lot about when I talk about platform is consistency. And so the goal of it is to give you a consistent experience irrespective of the underlying infrastructure. Going to anything applications. I say anything, but what I meant was anything with a little asterisk next to it. There's a lot of caveats. Cloud Foundry has super, super strong opinions about your applications. We talk a lot about 12-factor apps. And it was mentioned earlier. Springerized, thank you. 12-factor shout out. 12-factor is important because all the things you wanted to realize when we learned the magic of cloud, what it could do, and it was going to solve all of our problems, and we were going to roam free, and it was going to be almost free of cost, all the magic things that we were going to sell. The only way to really get to that is have applications architected for that. So 12-factor apps, so apps that are really stateless, don't have that persistent state requirements, and can take advantage of all the elasticity the underlying IaaSs can provide. DevOps is the next term. This is a tricky one. What are the key principles of DevOps? This is, Duncan. Not to say Duncan. It's a parallel solution to a perpendicular problem. But I like this because it gives you a great way to have a visualization around it. Listening to the talks earlier today, we talked a lot about silos and how do you approach organizational change. And a lot of the customer conversations I have is, all right, how do we make Cloud Foundry fit into our existing model? Well, your existing model looks like this. We have network administrators, security auditors, sysadmins, project managers, application architects, and the list goes on. And then the communication patterns look like that. And you have change control, workflows, conversations. And by the time you start factoring all of this in, it leads into lengthy delays and conflict. We want to break all that down. So when you start talking DevOps, you're thinking of a cultural transformation. You're thinking, how do I change the way my organization fundamentally approaches problem solving? So we break it down, and you put everybody in a singular team. So going back to the perpendicular problem, all striving towards the same objective. That's DevOps. Culturally asking people to cross-function, work on a single team with a single outcome. Some misconceptions. There's a bunch of sad developers all doing the DevOps thing. They're DevOpsing stuff left and right. They're doing the DevOps. Or often heard, can I just put some DevOps on that and that will make it all better? What it really entails is going back to that conversation where you put in, you're doing cross-functional teams and they're all together and they're working towards a single outcome, a single application, maybe a single microservice. They're all working towards that single outcome so that they're all on the same team going for the same objectives. And allows you to quickly move from inception, design, iterate, deploy, with everyone on the same team. Oh, there's a problem, failure, let's go back and talk about it. We're all here and we can iterate quickly. You want to ship with velocity? Get your teams together and working towards the same outcomes. Cloud Foundry is the tool that can enable that. It's not magic. It's not going to all of a sudden give you some DevOps when you buy the platform. But it is an enabler because of the strong opinions. It really wants you to do that. It really wants you to work together in cross-functional teams. It really wants you to deliver continuously. And so it'll really enforce those behaviors. When we talk about team structures and doing cross-functional alignment, we talk about platform operations. So going back to that structure, current model looks like this. Well, we want to, and I'm glad I'm actually going after Springer because you actually outlined the process perfectly. Well, I want to deploy an app, did you? Well, I need to talk to the network guy and submit my change request, and is there DNS open? Oh, is security going to go okay with this? I don't know. Oh, I need a VM, let's talk to the IaaS administrator. Oh, I need to talk to my release manager. This starts adding up. You can't throw enough people at this to make this move faster. So going to the cross-functional teams, we focus on platform operations team. There's a team focused on making that platform successful. That's their whole vision. There's a platform champion that's working to continue to champion the idea that we're a single culture, we're all working together, we have the same goals. Continuing to iterate on that team. Moving quickly into continuous delivery. You want to ship with velocity? Deliver continuously. So I'm going to give a shout out to Colin here because I'm taking your story and I went with it. To deliver continuously is like you're racing on a track with hurdles. You've got release candidates, and they're all running along. You've got unit test, integration test, security and performance test. It goes through each of those hurdles and comes out a winner in production. And you keep going through, and you keep going through, and you keep doing that. Every commitment, oh, go back. I got a little excited with the clicker. Sorry, Paula. Every commitment becomes a release candidate. So every time you're doing a CF push, it's a release candidate. Every single time you're going for, how do I get something to production as quickly as possible? But you say, what about the feedback loop? Every failure should be an impact to that continuous delivery. So every time there's a failure, you add that to your integration test. So you check for that, and you continue to push to code. You continue to CF push over and over again to production. Agile. Agile principles. What are the key things about Agile? Inception, sprints, stand-ups, iterations, points, retros. Sure, everybody does those, right? Doesn't everybody do those? Everybody has a stand-up. Everybody has a sprint. At least once a week, right? I think there's a lot of companies that think that this is what you need to be Agile. This is it. If I do a retro, I do a stand-up, I do a sprint, we're doing the Agile thing. Hey, maybe I'm even pairing and doing test-driven development. We're like hardcore Agile. We're doing the Agile thing. But the question we always ask, how often are you getting your features into the hands of your users? How often are you getting that feedback? How often are you deploying to production and continuing to pull that feedback back into that loop and deliver continuously? That's what Agile looks like. With Cloud Foundry, our goal, going back to continuous delivery and enforcement of those beliefs, is taking that from Agile development, so developing your code in Agile fashion, having sprints, having stand-ups, but instead deploying agilely, going continuous delivery, and continuing to deploy regularly, iteratively, over and over and over again as quickly as possible. Now we're getting to the fun stuff, containers. Everybody loves containers. Every customer I talk to is like, I got this Docker. Let me tell you about this Docker thing I got. I'm like, yes, you do. You have control resources. You want to control your resources with containers. You want to isolate. You want to secure everything. Those are all the things you want to try to do when you have containers. What containers provide is amazing. You can quickly spin up a container much faster than you can a VM. You have the ability to consolidate your resources efficiently. And you have full portability for your application. It's like a lunchbox. You can put your app in there and carry it somewhere else. Containers are awesome. And they're a core architectural belief of the platform, because that's how we leverage that to build in elasticity. What are the key principles of containers? You have a file system. That file system can include Docker images, or in Cloud Foundry, docklets push your stack. You have the ability to quickly deploy your containers and your app to a container. There's also the management, the back-end piece. This is what makes it all work. Is it an API CLI for Docker? There's the runtime, there's implementation. Here's all the core principles of the management of containers. There's some misconceptions about containers, though. There's a lot of assumptions that containers are a lot of things. We're going to go a little meta here. There is no container. There are walls, there's resource limits, and there's namespaces. There is no container. Yes, there's a file system. Yes, there's an image. But the difference is the rest of it are implementation details. And I think when we focus on container as a solution and not the implementation detail, we miss the solution that's being provided by a container and by a platform. And by focusing too much on the aspects of that, we lose sight of the grander vision, which is, I want to ship with velocity. One of the things that you'll see up here, for those in the community, Run C. If you're not following OCI, that was launched last year, Open Container Initiative. Run C is going to be implemented really quickly as part of Cloud Foundry. So we will be standardizing on a container model, and I'm excited about that because I think it's an opportunity to leverage the entire industry. So Docker, CoreOS, and Pivotal, standardizing on a container technology, which allows us to still remain an amazing implementation detail. It does not matter. Docker, 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 Docker. Containers are not enough. And I think we just want to reiterate, containers are an amazing implementation detail of the way we take advantage of the resources, but they are not the ultimate solution. The way we use it in Cloud Foundry, we support Docker images, the droplets, plus our stack. We have Garden, Run C, all those capabilities managed within the platform. And you just see if push. All right, we're getting to the home stretch. Microservices. I loved your thing. You're like, oh, shit, microservices. We should do some. Everyone should have microservices. What is a microservice? It is a very small application. It's a single app, the suite of smaller apps. It could be in Spring Boot, Go, Ruby, your language of choice. The intent of it is to really say, going back to the DevOps model, what is my business problem? What am I solving for? And how do I create small aspects of that to answer that question of the day? These should be aligned with your business capabilities. And the goal is to make them independently deployable. Why is that? Because that allows you to ship quicker, faster, and address real business problems. We're at an age now where we're using technology to really solve our business problems, as opposed to buying technology and trying to find out what business problems they solve. So this is a great opportunity to really organize around common business outcomes and say, what do I want to solve with technology? Maybe Spring Boot's the right way, maybe Ruby, maybe Go, maybe PHP, maybe Python. You have some kick-ass Python. I think there's a lot of opportunity to really focus instead on the implementation details. What are we trying to do? This gives you an option to use different languages, different data storage technologies. What are some of the misconceptions about microservices? Well, they are not magical. They still require a platform. They really still require application layer support. And guess what? The more of them create lots of problems because there's a lot of them. And that's something that should be considered, be it thinking about environmental provisioning, on-demand scaling, how do I do resource and data management? How do I do all those things when I have a lot of small applications? One of the things that we've been working on really diligently within Cloud Foundry is adding a platform for support around that and really building on the open source technologies available from Netflix OSS community to put a native integrated support around a model to offer you a platform for microservices. So giving you the option to do service discovery, service registry, providing you that elasticity around the microservices so that you, again, don't have to worry about the implementation details, but you just focus on what is the business problem you're solving. And then finally, cloud native. We use that word a lot. Sometimes I ask, do we know what that means? Duncan did an amazing job of actually looking this up on Wikipedia. Wikipedia says it's a native cloud application that refers to a type of computer software that natively utilizes services and infrastructure provided by cloud computing providers. That's a lot. What does that mean? It basically describes a way software is designed to run and scale reliably and predictably on top of potentially unreliable cloud-based infrastructure. When we talk about 12-factor apps, this is what we mean. We want your software, your applications to be resilient, irrespective of what's underneath them. We don't want you to care, and we want you to architect for success. We want you to ensure that wherever your app is, it runs the same way every single time. And that's the objective. Some key takeaways. Shipping with velocity. Buzzwords are still a problem. We have a nice hamburger. Think of Cloud Foundry like a hamburger, although it doesn't look like a hamburger up there. Well, anyways, it's a hamburger. Cloud Foundry enables you to ship with velocity. Technology is not enough. You are not going to change the way you deliver software by just buying technology. And Cloud Foundry is a tool to help enable and enforce that change to ensure that you can continue to deliver quickly, effectively, in real time. And then finally, I have to plug Duncan's book, even though Duncan is not here. Duncan wrote a book that has all of this in there. You should get Duncan's book. There is an ebook available, but I'm going to plug his book even though he's not here. I want everyone to note I plugged his book. And keep calm and CF push.